Hold on.
Oh, this is actually so frustrating. I can see where a lot of this is gonna go.
Children cannot consent.
Wait, how do you cause them harm?
Because you're violating a fundamental deontological rule.
Oh no, what are we doing then? Violating consent isn't necessarily a bad thing, I don't think. We violate children's consent all the time when we tell them to like go to bed against their will. When you force your kid to take medicine or get a vaccination at the hospital. We even violate the consent, arguably, of adults sometimes.
Violating someone's consent is inherently morally wrong. The reason why goes back to the Kantian categorical imperative. If we were to do certain things in society...
Can Doe do it? Riley has described 2 different acts, and the second act is only wrong because it's inheriting the wrongness from the first act. When you say you're sorry, are you implying that you broke some deontological norm? Are you implying that you've decreased the amount of utility in the world? Are you coming at this from a virtue ethics position? Like, how can I even interpret your apology if we don't even have a ethical conversation, right? Nobody in the real world functions this way. Okay, whoa! Honestly, once somebody has like triggered this level of like personal, like kind of trauma dumping, I'd be like, okay, I don't think that, it feels like we can't move much farther in this conversation now, or I'm uncomfortable to do so. And then I think you just have to leave. Because now you're literally nothing that happens from this point. Even if Riley was making the most logical arguments in the world, which I don't think she has at this point, you're completely fucked. Buckle up, because I think this is a rough one. Whew.
Doe, you are live on the RGR.
No, why is it quiet? Edge plugin volume. Did I download a plugin for volume on Edge? Oh, Volume Boost Plus, I did. What does this look like? Oh, it's this thing. Okay, thank God.
I should turn you up just a little bit.
Okay, how goes it?
Did you say how goes it?
Yeah, I asked how goes it?
Yeah, it's going okay. Well, we've been streaming for a little bit. I waited here for a little bit. Your conversation, I was back in like 30 seconds.
Oh God, the volumes are unequal. Oh man. Good luck.
You started a brand new conversation. I was back so quickly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The reason I brought on Malcolm was because Malcolm had actually been here waiting since like the beginning of the stream. Or,
yeah,
like,
I saw that they were here before me. It's all right. I just,
Yeah.
I was here so quick. I didn't think that you were gonna move on, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a good conversation? We didn't listen to it. I have no idea what you guys talked about. Your chat seems to say it's about Calvin Gara, but I don't know anything.
It was in part about that. It was interesting.
Okay.
So
Okay, off to a friendly start.
I'm assuming.
I think.
Do you mind if I read out the initial tweet that you sent at me to come on here?
I mean, you want to read through the whole thing? I think that would be a little more enlightening than just the first tweet.
I'll read. I mean,
we can show it all together if you really want.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just like the initial ones.
No, it's mega passive aggressive.
Hey, Riley Grace Rochong, I'd love to debate. You blocked me and deleted all your videos, tweets after you called me a pedophile repeatedly with zero evidence, aside from me saying not wearing shoes in public is not, quote, involving children in a sex act. First come, first serve, right? Yeah, so I apologize. Malcolm was here, yeah. I just think the topic... Was Riley lying and trying to cover her tracks by repeatedly calling the CSA victim a pedophile for not thinking that not wearing shoes is actually okay to do in public is a really good topic. Feel free to let me know. So I did unblock
You added an extra knot in there, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. Where did I add an extra knot?
You said not thinking. It's all right. It's not a big deal.
Okay. Then I unblocked you. And yeah, so I guess I want to begin. Do you mind if I ask like a couple questions, just so I like set the...
Can we go a little bit further?
Oh wait, which one?
Oh, I just think that you're leaving off a lot of really important information. Is it okay if we read a little bit more?
Well, in this tweet it was just the 2 pictures.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that tweet is just those 2 pictures, but that wasn't the end of our interaction, right?
Yeah. There are a lot of other interactions. I asked you if you wanted to talk about gender. And you said that you
did ask. You actually said, feel free to talk about gender here when I asked to come on and talk about this other topic.
Yeah, I was interested in talking about multiple topics. I thought that would have been cool because I know that you've talked about gender before. And I am also someone who talks about gender a lot. So I was super hecking interested in talking to you, but like, I know that you very strongly do not want to talk about gender with me. And I don't know why, but yeah, you don't have to. I'm not going to force you to. So do you mind if I ask you, like, just in here, you said that I repeatedly called you a pedophile. So first, can I get like just like all of the places? Like, can you just tell me? You can tell me if I've like
Well,
deleted
how about
or
I
like
ask you a
uploaded
question?
videos.
Around the time this summer of the Kink at Pride conversation,
Oh man.
did you private your Twitter and delete all of your tweets?
Yeah, I did. I was getting a lot of harassment at that point.
Oh, I'm sure you were, but privating your account, I delete my account every once in a while and reactivate it when I'm feeling a little, I've got some other stuff to do and I don't want to focus on Twitter.
Yeah, the reason I deleted a lot of my content and I privated my account was because I was getting harassed a lot by people, mostly associated with you and your community. Yeah, I was just getting like constantly harassed, and I was just recovering from surgery around that time. So yeah, I just had to do that for my own mental health sake.
You had to delete your tweets for mental
yeah,
health?
that's a place
Okay.
where people can be able to harass me.
Okay. I don't know how anal I'm going to be when I analyze this or when I think about this. That was a little bit passive aggressive from Doe. I don't know. They might have been more passive earlier. This is the first time I've clearly got like, you would delete your tweets for mental health. I think that's fair. I think Riley's fair to do that. If somebody wants to just wipe shit because they don't want people responding to it, or I think that's probably fair. I got.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you had your account privated. It's a little hard when you're privated.
Well, yeah, I
It's not
wanted
like
to
we
make
can
sure
see
that
your
when I
tweets.
reopened it, because I wanted to make sure that when I reopened it, that people could not like go through and harass me with the tweets that were still on there. That was around.
Can I ask what harassment means to you? I'm sorry for interrupting. If you want to finish what you were saying, I apologize.
Yeah, so around. I'm trying to remember. Was that the Kink at Pride or the Eat the
It's around
Rich saga?
July.
It was around. So that was. Wait, hold on. So that would have been Eat the Rich, right? There were a lot of people who were
Oh,
sending.
I didn't do anything to you about Eat the Rich.
Okay, well, I know that like around that time there were a lot of people who were sending me death threats.
Oh, yeah. We saw some of those. I think that that's pretty wrong to send you death threats. I think it's pretty inappropriate, pretty wrong. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I've experienced similar things. I'm sorry about that. You have
Yeah,
a few
so
members of your community who like to
Wait,
say
I'm
lots
sorry,
of
what?
things about me.
Wait, hold on. So do you have? Wait, hold on. Who in my community has done anything like that?
Gammy.
Gammy? Hold on, wait. Gammy is not a part of my community.
She's in your chat right now.
Is anyone who's in my chat? Wait, hold on. You were in my chat.
Yeah, after I was blocked from here, because you, okay.
Hold on. No,
Yes.
hold on. Hold on. I'm talking to a lot of people who I disagree with. This is the first time that Gammy has been in my chat in months. All right.
Okay, that's fair. But do you remember when you posted a tweet a while back and you said, here's some really good accounts that I think are really important for you to follow for good trans voices? And one of them was Gammy.
Yeah. No, I remember that.
Okay, Doe should have never brought up that first example of she's in your chat when she had such a great second example. Like, anybody can be in anybody's chat, and it's going to be hard to prove, like, how much do you need to be in a person's chat to blah, blah, blah. Doe should have just said, didn't you recommend her on Twitter as a trans account that you should follow? That's like such a perfect first. I don't know why Doe would have opened with something so much weaker than that.
So at
I
some
wasn't
point,
aware
you
of a
agreed
lot
with
of the
some
things
that she was doing.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of a lot of the more problematic things that Gammy had done. It's actually why I ended up deleting that, or part of the reason why I ended up deleting that and disregarding that. But also, this isn't part of the comment this isn't what we're talking about. You came here to talk about these allegations,
they're all
right?
kind of relevant. You were talking about harassment, and I was just curious what you.
Well,
consider
you're asking me
harassment
why
because-
I privated my account and deleted it. So
Well,
the
I'm
reason why
asking
is
why you
because I was
deleted
getting a lot of
tweets
harassment.
when
Yeah,
you were telling people that others were.
hold on, wait. Are you saying?
quote, yeah.
All right. All right. So is the allegation? So I just want to be very clear. Do you have any tweets, or are there any tweets that you're alleging where I called you a pedophile?
There were. I don't have any screenshots on me. You deleted them.
Oh wait. So hold on. So because I would dispute that is the case, but if I say that, then are you just going to accuse me of lying?
Accuse you of lying for. I'm sorry. Say that again.
So I would say that I do not remember, to the best of my ability, ever tweeting calling you a pedophile. Do you have any screenshots or evidence of that being the case?
I have a video of you saying that I intentionally or unintentionally was justifying pedophilia. And
Okay, we're gonna go over that, but I want
we
I
are
want
gonna go over it.
examples. Yeah, no, we'll go over that. But I just want to. You said multiple times. You said here that I called you a pedophile multiple times. I want to know exactly when those multiple times were.
You deleted your Twitter or your tweets. I can't go find them.
Do you have
but I
any
can
evidence
find
that?
one.
Wait. So I would dispute. I would say that I never tweeted.
Something that I would hit back here if I was really, and maybe I just get a special level of bullying or harassment when I'm on Twitter, but it sounds super sus to me when somebody's like, well, you deleted your tweets. And again, this might just be my perspective as skewed here because people are screenshotting and everything all the fucking time. Like, you're telling me that you're mad enough to say somebody's making a major accusation against you, but nobody screenshotted or archived anything? That, like, I feel like that's like people run to do this before they do literally anything else. But maybe that's just because my account is bigger or I've got more dedicated haters or whatever. Maybe that's not the case with everybody.
Calling you a pedophile.
Okay. You can hold that. I can't push you on that. I believe that you did. You believe that I didn't. I'm not gonna call you a liar. That's fine. But you.
I think a good faith, a bridge, extending a bridge here is. It sounds like Riley said something. Now I don't know, but based on how these two are talking about it, it sounds like Riley said something like, "Your arguments could be are the same arguments used to justify pedophilia," and Doe is taking this as you're calling me a pedophile. Now, I would argue that there is a difference between those two things, right? Like you're making terrorist adjacent arguments versus you are a terrorist, or you're a domestic abuser versus you're making the same types of excuses that domestic abusers make. I think there is a difference there. Now, maybe some people would argue that, well, in online communities, the nuance is lost. You're essentially making the same claim, which there might be some validity to that. But
I had a video in which you said it.
I had a video. All right, so let's talk about that video because I think that's what you tweeted here, right?
Yeah, and then your girlfriend, I'm assuming, that's what I was
all right,
told.
hold on. I'm not going to talk about the view. All right, hold on. I'm not here to defend what my girlfriend said. All right, we're here to talk about what I said. All right? So you're saying that this video is evidence of me calling you a pedophile. That's what you're saying.
I think that something that would have helped this conversation a great deal, because we're fighting over a lot of shit, and I don't actually... From a viewer perspective, I don't know what the fuck these two are talking about yet. I think it would have been nice for Riley to have Doe come on and be like, okay, just talk for like a minute or two. What exactly is it that we're here to argue about or discuss? I feel like that would have been like giving a broader opening would have been better to kind of like give some background to what the fuck this conversation is. I can kind of piece it together what's happening, but right now we're like getting into the weeds on shit and I don't even know what forest we're in, you know?
I do think saying that someone is intentionally or unintentionally justifying pedophilia is calling them a pedophile, because what you're saying is that they think it's okay to do sexual acts to children.
No. Don't twist my words.
I don't think I twisted anything.
I don't think that you are being very honest when you say that. All right? So we can listen to the clip right now. I'll listen to it with my chat. All right.
Yeah, I guess I have to. Hold on, let me come pull it up really quick. I don't have mine open.
All right. Hold on.
Let me go to my media tab.
There's also from like an attitude or maybe from an emotional perspective, both of these people sound like they absolutely fucking hate each other and are incredibly passive aggressive right out the gate. There's a lot of like tension here.
Tell me whenever you're ready.
Wait, are you done already? I think
no, I'm waiting for. I was sorry. I was waiting for you. I was waiting for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a second one that has a little bit more context. That's a little bit longer than the one that I quote tweeted with, but that's okay.
Okay. So
we can both play it at the same time now if you want.
All right. Wait. Which one are you playing? Is it the same clip?
Well, here. How about I do this? I've got this one that's got a little bit fuller context.
All right, when you say fuller context,
oh shit!
what are you meaning?
I tried to DM it to you so you could see it. It's just the previous part of the video. I clicked the one part.
So
because
I
it's the part
actually
where you have to say
have...
pedophile, but the minute leading up to it, I also have a separate video of.
Wait,
we can just watch the quick one if you really want.
Yeah.
The 20-second one.
Yeah, well, it's the one that you tweeted at me.
Yeah, the quote tweet. We can watch that one really quick. Ready?
Okay.
Right, 3, 2, 1.
Really weird. Now, a lot of people who come from really fringe parts of the internet are coming out with really weird takes that apparently kink is fine to do in front of children. We should be able to justify doing it in front of them, even if it's explicitly involving them in a sexual act. Like, what the fuck is going on? This is unironic. Oh my God. They're either negligently justifying pedophilia or intentionally justifying pedophilia. And I have no idea what the fuck it is. Okay. So did you finish it? Okay.
And
So I'm going to ask you, so where in that clip did I call you a pedophile?
When you say that someone is intentionally or unintentionally, well, there's a couple places.
No, hold on.
Oh, this is actually so frustrating. I can see where a lot of this is going to go. So Riley is correct in her verbiage, but it's not going to feel that way. And I would even say Riley is doing a decent job to be careful in her verbiage, but it doesn't matter, I think, to this person. Saying that, because it is valid to say that your arguments could be used to justify pedophilia, that is markedly different in syntax than calling you a pedophile. That is absolutely a different statement. But with the way the internet works and everything, some people might just take that as calling them a pedophile. Even though you are technically being careful with what you're saying, you're not saying they're a pedophile, you're saying your arguments can be used to justify pedophilia. Yeah.
That is not calling you a pedophile.
You asked me a really direct question and you won't let me finish my sentence.
All right, but that is not calling you a pedophile. That's saying that you advocated, that you made an argument that is typical to expect that pedophiles would make.
That's a bad way to phrase it, though. Riley's phrasing there is really bad.
That is my argument,
but, okay.
and I stand by that argument.
But
we can go into the merits of it if you want to.
Let's go into the merits, because clearly just talking about this one sentence isn't going to go anywhere. So I think it's prudent of us to talk about your definition.
Wait. Yeah, so let's start with exactly what you said.
Okay, Riley is railroading the argument really hard. I think she needs to just slow down and let Doe at least get her line out, because I don't think it feels like the impression that I get, and it might not be true, but the impression that I get is it feels like Riley is too scared to let her talk. Like she's going to say something that's going to blow apart Riley's argument. Now, I don't know if that's the case, and that's just a baseless accusation. It might be true, but that's what it feels like when Riley keeps cutting her off over and over and over and over and over again.
So you said, and I quote, "Some people like feet. If you go shoeless to a public event because your partner likes feet, you're not, quote, involving children in a sexual act." That's what you said, right?
That is what I said.
You're talking about a foot fetish.
I am talking about a foot fetish. I'm proud of you.
Okay.
This is so
I want you to answer me this question. If you are getting off your partner's foot fetish around children, do you think it's not a little reasonable for someone to say, okay, this seems like something that a pedophile may argue, and this person either knows what they're doing or they are negligent and they're saying it even though they don't understand its implications?
So, nowhere in this tweet has anyone talked about getting off.
Wait, hold on. What do you think happens when you appeal to someone's sexual kink?
Doe is correct here. The next step is okay, well, what do we mean when we say getting off, right? Because somebody could wear a type of outfit that helps to quote unquote get their partner off versus somebody could be actively getting their partner off, right? We need to distinguish what these two things mean.
We're talking about a fetish. We're talking about foot fetish.
We're talking about sexual desires. We're talking about.
We're talking about getting off someone else's fetish.
You keep saying getting off. Why do you keep saying that?
Because that's the only implication. All right, so I guess then let's back up.
Can I give you an implication? You're allowed to ask questions if you're confused.
I mean, I'm very much not confused. I can guarantee you that. But let me ask you a question.
Neither side really wants to have a discussion. Because Doe could have phrased that in a much less passive aggressive way. They could have just said, I can explain, rather than being you can ask a question if you want. Doe could have just said, I can just explain this, rather than being they're both just insanely triggered as fuck coming out the gate on this. So it's going to be really hard for any good actual conversation to take place, which based on all the Twitter response and everything, there was no good conversation about Jesus.
So
you haven't represented me correctly yet, so I think you might be just a little bit confused.
I'm going to doubt that, but let me ask you a question. So what is your definition of a sexual act?
So sex acts is like super complex. I think the biggest issue that I actually have, and I mean not biggest, but the first issue I have is probably your definition of sex act. If I remember correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'll give you a chance to in just a second.
Okay.
That a sex act is any action that occurs with sexual intent, sexual desire, right? Is that about right?
Roughly, it's when you do something intentionally and primarily
What was that?
appealing to yours or someone else's sexual desires.
Yeah, okay. So I think I got it about right. So I think that this is so broad as to be useless, and I don't think that any legal system defines it this way. For example,
I would disagree. I would absolutely disagree.
Let her finish. Let her finish.
Yeah, go ahead, but I'm just saying, like, I disagree with that.
I just don't know why you have to interrupt me when I'm in the middle of talking.
Well, I'm just saying that I disagree with that. You can
Okay,
keep talking.
well, in my state, I looked up the sex acts law, and they actually, so I live in North Carolina, and criminal law designates differences between sex acts, sexual contact, sexual activity, and sexual penetration. They define sex acts as the sexual contact of one or more sex organs, including but not limited to cunnilingus, fellatio, analingus, or anal intercourse, or the penetration of any object into the genital or anal opening of another person's body. Sexual contact is a focus on touching a person's, quote, intimate parts. Sexual penetration is, we can understand that. And sexual activity, the main thing that they listed there was masturbation.
Okay, so let me.
So we have a lot of different. It's a very varied. The legal system is a very varied way of approaching these kinds of discussions.
Yeah, and so I actually, there's some interesting context because I've actually taken. So as you know, I'm a law student. I've actually taken criminal law. Are you familiar with the history of how we've gotten to like our modern?
I would never, ever, ever bring up something like that in a debate. It makes you sound super like. I'm a philosophy student. I'm a law student. I would never bring that up from just an optics and from a conversation or whatever, unless you're just trying to trigger the fuck out of the other person. But
Common law rape standard.
I probably don't know the history as well as you do, being a law student. But I was actually in the middle of talking.
Well, I mean, you're
why
going
you
on.
interrupted
Right.
me. I was actually you asked me a really direct question, and I was actually walking my way through it. I don't know why you keep doing this.
I mean, like if you keep talking and you just keep going on and you give a really
I just
long-winded
listed
answer.
a legal system's sex acts and the way that it differentiates between it, because one of
All right,
my
is there
points
anything?
here
I'm sorry.
is
Is there
that this is
anything
a
that you
very
missed?
nuanced conversation, and I think you lose some of the nuance that I think is really important to this conversation.
You're right. So we can go through that and we can talk about why those definitions are in fact problematic. Because the history of the evolution of the legal standard for what constitutes a sex act has actually been to broaden it more over time. Historically, rape was only the penetration of a vagina by a penis by a man of a woman, and using excessive force. But the reason why that's not the standard anymore is because we realize that actually sex acts are a lot more than just physical penetration.
That's true.
Yeah, that is true. So I would not say that the law is a good heuristic to be able to rely on in this conversation, since we are able to recognize that sex and sex acts are a lot more than just basic forms of penetration.
I agree. I actually listed things that weren't penetration.
Yeah, and I would say that we still need a broader,
penetration.
and I would say that we still need a broader understanding of sex acts, because you end up excluding a lot of very harmful situations that run into the problem of violating one's consent.
That is where I was going to move the conversation, as a question of consent. And because you seem to, again, correct me if I'm wrong, have a view that we consent to seeing things in public, that's like a thing that happens.
No, wait, hold on. My exact view in respect to consent, especially as it concerns sex, is that if someone is going to involve you in a sex act or do something around you as a sex act, then you need to acquire their consent to do that. If you do not, then you violate their consent, you categorically cause them harm. Children cannot consent.
Wait, how do you cause them harm?
Because you're violating a fundamental deontological rule.
oh no, what are we
That
doing
doesn't
that?
mean
I think you have to. This is so problematic. This Oh man, hold on. I'm sorry. My brain is just like, there's like 50 million things that are wrong with this. I don't know if, first of all, even deontologically, let me say by principle, violating consent isn't necessarily a bad thing. I don't think. We violate children's consent all the time when we tell them to like go to bed against their will, when we force them to go to school, when we force them to finish their vegetables, when we there's all sorts of quote unquote consent violations that happen there. That like, yeah, obviously we do this. When you force your kid to take medicine or get a vaccination at the hospital, yeah, there's a trillion examples. Number one, we even violate the consent, arguably, of adults sometimes, maybe. If I'm walking down the street and somebody like passes out or something, I might roll that person over. I might give that person CPR. You might try a Heimlich maneuver. You call 911. Like, you don't have consent for them to do any of this stuff. It's also problematic to say that anything that happens in the public sphere, like every other person necessarily needs to consent to. For instance, I don't necessarily like want to watch people make out in public. But like if somebody else is making out in public in a place where I can see it, is my consent being violated there in an immoral way? I don't want to listen to people's music. I don't know why people walk around with their fucking with their Bluetooth speakers blasting. That's annoying. Is that like violating my consent like in an immoral or unethical way? Like, can't you argue? I'm guessing Doe is going to move forward to argue with this, that when you step into a public sphere, to some extent, you are consenting to things that you don't necessarily like. I might see ugly cars. I might see ugly faces. I might see people doing things that I don't like or approve of. I might see political slogans that I disagree with. There might be offensive imagery. Like, there's a ton of stuff that, yeah, this is, I don't know which direction this conversation is going to go in, but I don't know how Riley would defend. It seems like there's a lot there to... There's a lot there to go off of, but Jesus. All right, let's see.
Anything? Can you explain that?
Yeah, there are certain things which if you do, they are inherently morally wrong. Murder is an example. If you do it, is inherently morally wrong. Violating
Why?
someone's consent is inherently morally wrong. The reason why goes back to the Kantian categorical imperative. If we were to do certain things in society, then that would mean that we end up leading to a contradiction, whereas we end up not being able to have the thing that we wanted to begin with.
I don't think the category, like, we can talk about like universalization of different moral acts, and there's going to be times when violating consent is a moral act. I don't think invoking the categorical imperative here gets us to all forms of violation of consent are necessarily immoral. Like, consent in and of itself, I think that's just like, that's a shortcut to other things. We have to take it like a step further. Like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
If you go around violating other people's consent, then we end up justifying a world where anyone can violate anyone's consent. We no longer have consent. And I really care about consent. So I say we do everything we can to respect consent, especially concerning sex.
So this statement, the way to tear into this statement, we'll see which direction Doe goes, is there are many different kinds of consents. And we need to figure out like there's a lot of different types of consent. Like, I don't think you could ever say like, here's a blanket, like this is, yeah, let's see.
I think we should absolutely respect consent too. I think it's really important. I just don't think that when it comes to the public, that there is a very good argument for seeing something, being involved in it. Now
I would
we're not
disagree.
even in
No, hold on. No, it's not.
Let her-
It's not the seeing the thing.
Let her finish. Let them finish. Okay.
Not the issue. The issue is not seeing the. Well, I mean,
Doe needs to be way more aggressive in terms of getting all their points out. They can't get cut off and then immediately stop talking, in my opinion. But
it's sort of seeing the thing. It depends on
It is.
exactly what the sex
You
act
say
is.
that it's about seeing that you haven't gotten the consent
No.
of others to see
Hold on.
it, to be around
No.
you while you do it.
Wait, hold on. No, I want to make
I thought
sure.
that's what you just said. I'm sorry if it's not. I
No,
was just
we're focusing on consent, and the consent is
Yeah.
either about the risk. It's either about being involved in the sex act or the risk of being involved.
okay. So, what does being involved mean?
It
Because it
depends on the
seems like-
sexual act. There's a lot of different sex acts, I would say. For example, we can imagine situations where people, like in the BDSM community, are engaging in a sexual act where both are getting off despite the fact that they may not be touching each other at all. Like, we can easily imagine this kind of a conversation. Or we can imagine...
I think in this case, this is where let's bring out some hypotheticals and then explore that. We really need to get an example on the ground here so that we can both like talk about it. I think it's important.
Imagine like if someone is watching porn, we can imagine that like, oh, well, in that case, they're not touching another person. They're probably engaging in some kind of sex act. Or like phone sex, which has sex in the name. You're not talking to another person. We would call that a sex act. Or you are talking.
Okay. Fuck. This sounds selfish. I wish Riley would have had this conversation with me first before testing this out as like a public debate. If I'm sexting with somebody and I'm like and there are like kids in the area, am I violating their consent? Is that true? If I pull out my phone and I'm like sending news to some girl and there's like a kid in the restaurant with me, am I like involving that kid? Like, this is a super bizarre argument. I don't think you ever, they talk about that? Okay.
To another person, but it's digital, right? Like, the whole point is that I want to make sure that we have a comprehensive definition of sex, because I think that any of these instances you would agree with me constitute sex, and if not, we end up getting into incredibly dangerous situations.
Any of the things that you just listed constitute sex?
I would say that they are sex acts specifically. Like, for example, let's say, here, we'll go through some hypotheticals. Let's say that you are interacting, let's say that you have like a crush on or you know someone else who has like a crush on a coworker wherever it is that you work.
This
all right?
hypothetical got out really quick. So I know somebody who has a crush on a coworker.
Okay. And let's say that in that instance, the person who has the crush takes a picture of...
Wait, hold on. Why do I see people in Twitch chat and DG bringing up Anthony Weiner? The problem with Anthony Weiner wasn't whether there was a pic with a child. First of all, when you say with a child, he wasn't like fucking his child or some crazy, right? The problem is that he was sexting an underage girl. I thought it was because the girl he was talking to was like 14 or 15. Wasn't that the problem? Like, I don't know if you... At the risk of being weird or talking to a bunch of children, I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of parents will fuck with like their fucking, what's before toddler, when their kid is like 6 months old in a bassinet or whatever, or in like like parents will fuck around their quote unquote like pre-whatever kids, infants. Yeah. It's not like, are they pedophiles or like because the kid can hear them or like, it's just like that's so weird. I don't know. Okay, sorry.
Coworker without their knowledge and ends up masturbating to it without their consent. Would you agree with me that this is something which is morally wrong?
Hold on, what was the question here?
And
coworker
masturbating to it without their consent. In that instance, the person who has the crush takes a picture of the coworker without their knowledge and ends up masturbating to it without their consent. Would you agree with me that this is something which is morally wrong?
Oh, shit. All right. Can Doe do it? Riley has described 2 different acts, and the second act is only wrong because it's inheriting the wrongness from the first act. Sorry, it might sound weird. There's nothing wrong with masturbating to publicly available pictures of people, okay? If people are gonna do it. If people wanna do that, that's on them, okay? But if you are taking pictures of somebody else without their consent, that act in and of itself is wrong. And we can argue that things that flow from that are wrong as well. So if I'm masturbating to a picture of somebody that I took candidly, that is probably wrong, right? But not because you're masturbating to a picture of somebody, but because you got that picture in a candid manner without their consent. That's the wrong part about it.
I think that the taking depends on the kind of picture.
Let's just say it's just
expectation of what?
Let's just say that it's just them and their work.
That was close. Let's see if they get there.
I don't know if I can morally condemn someone for masturbating and thinking about somebody. Taking a picture without somebody's consent is like the strange part.
Okay,
yeah, she's almost got it. She needs to break that apart better into 2 different distinct acts. But they have the idea.
Now, all right, that is we have to, all right, let's elaborate on that then. All right, then let's say that after that coworker masturbates to the person who they did not acquire the consent, be able to masturbate to that person, that they go and they tell that person that they masturbated to them, would you reasonably expect that the person who was masturbated to without their knowledge would probably feel violated to some degree?
I don't have to consider it. It's happened to me. Yeah, it's a little weird.
Okay, cool. So why is, no, it's not just weird. You would say that that's morally wrong.
We're gonna have a moral problem in this debate. I'm trying not to like make it the point because it doesn't matter. But
No, wait, hold on. It absolutely does. Violating someone's consent is
I'm sorry.
paramount. I want to make sure that we are protecting people.
I don't believe in morals the way that you do, so I'm trying to avoid that kind of conversation because we don't need to have a meta ethical conversation in this.
Fuck, is this a destiny? Why do people, I feel like people bite my shit so much. What? Okay, we don't have to get into a discussion about meta-ethics, sure, but if we're having a conversation about sexual consent, by definition, it's gonna be a moral argument, of course. Now, this is some weird thing that some people believe. I'm not saying Doe or RGR believes this, or maybe Doe might believe this. You don't have to come from the same ethical place that another person does to have an ethical conversation. Here's the get mad, philosophy students, okay? If you study ethics, I hope you get real mad. Here's the reality, okay? 99% of humanity agrees on like 90 to 95% of like ethical propositions, okay? There's a few shit in the edges around like maybe like LGBT issues or fucking weird religiosity shit maybe. But like for the most part, most people agree on like most moral shit, okay? Now you can spend all day arguing about meta ethics or normative ethics or whatever, do that shit if you want. But the reality is most of us agree on most shit, okay? If I run into somebody on the street and I'm like, oh my God, yo, I'm sorry. Nobody's gonna look at me and be like, you're sorry? I don't even know your meta-ethical framework. I don't even know how to interpret. How do I even parse that language? When you say you're sorry, are you implying that you broke some deontological norm? Are you implying that you've decreased the amount of utility in the world? Are you coming at this from a virtue ethics position? Like, how can I even interpret your fucking apology if we don't even have a meta-ethical conversation, right? Nobody in the real world functions this way. We can absolutely like say that like, hey, that was wrong. Don't murder people. Don't rape people, right? Don't steal from people. Like, there's a reason why like the 10 commandments are like, not all 10 of them, but like fucking 7 or 8 of them, I think, right? Are universalized throughout like almost every single fucking society, okay? Yeah, sorry. But, okay.
Discussion. I don't think that I could say that it's morally
Hold on.
wrong.
Why do countries so differ in their laws then? I don't think they do. I think the vast majority of countries like have murder as illegal, have like rape or stealing is illegal. Like, yeah, if you're gonna say like, okay, well, Destiny, what about the fact that the tax treatment to corporations that engage in reinvestment is actually, yeah, maybe when you get into the weeds on like some complicated, but for the most part, okay, you're not allowed to fuck kids. You're not allowed to steal people's shit. You're not allowed to set buildings on fire, okay? For the most part, we all kind of agree around the world on some shit. Now, are some places a little bit crazy? Yeah, absolutely, okay? Is there a little bit more, you know, spousal rape happening in some places? Is there a little bit more, arguably, I don't want to say pedophilia because it's a loaded word, like child bride shit that happens? Yeah, sure, not everybody. But for the most part, we all kind of agree on most things, okay?
Wrong to masturbate to somebody, but I think telling them is strange. I don't know if I would say it's morally wrong.
Okay. Fuck. Now I wish I argued with Doe about this. Doe is I think Doe is really close to being correct. I don't know if she hasn't like formalized these arguments before or whatever, or like really like had to like test them out, but they're pretty much correct, right? Well, there's two different acts here. Masturbating to somebody isn't, fuck it, anybody can do it. It's not a wrong thing to do that, but telling them you do that, well now that's a separate act. We need to break apart these acts as different things so we can view these different acts as being good or bad. You can masturbate to anybody you fucking want to. That's shit you do in your home on your own time, okay? But when you bring it up to another person, hey, I masturbate to you, right? Now you're committing a different act. Now it's a little bit weird.
Is going to make them uncomfortable.
Now this is, wait, so hold on. So if you masturbate to someone else and you don't get their consent, then it's fine as long as they don't find out?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I don't, I would say that there are ways that it
Doe should just own that and say, yeah, of course, yeah, yes.
Wrong.
What are the ways?
I think that sexual desire towards children
Hold on.
be-
Wait, pause. No, we're talking about the nature of what is a sex act. Do not pivot away from this. Why would it be
I wasn't trying to
wrong?
pivot away. I was trying to tell you an example of where I thought it would be wrong.
Okay, so the example would be wrong if it would be children.
Yeah, I think that there's something inherently predatory about.
All right, so-
Oh man, I don't think that this just might have to be an uncomfortable bullet that Doe bites. Because now we're getting into really weird territory. Oh shit, Riley's gonna hammer them on this one.
What if we're talking about an adult?
Okay, let's just stick with adults. That's good.
Yeah, that's what I was working to. I don't think that I can say that it's wrong to think about somebody and masturbate to them.
Even if you don't. All right, so why do you think that if they ended up going to tell, if you masturbate to someone, that if you go and you tell that person that you masturbated to them, why do you think that they might be a little put off?
Because you've made them into an object a little bit in your mind. Even if you consider them as a full subject, it's objectification.
Hold on, no, the average person.
There.
No, the average per. Oh, hold on. And it's not. That's not necessarily the case. All right.
Sure.
That's not necessarily the case. It could be the case where
agree.
no, you actually like totally no. You just like you're really infatuated with them. You see them totally as a person, but you masturbate to them without their consent.
Sure. I think that there's still a level of.
Okay, I'm trying to be really careful because I don't want to assume. I'm trying not to be like, oh, everybody on the internet copies all of my arguments. Something that Doe is hitting on though sounds like something I've said in the past, which is in my mind, I don't know if there's like an academic or formalized definition of this, but in my mind, there's two different things that I view, okay? And Doe is getting towards this, or almost said it. You've got like sexualization, and then you've got like objectification, okay? If I want to walk around and sexualize the fucking world, fucking do it. Go for it. If you want to go masturbate to all the fucking things in the world you want, go out there, coom all you want. Not go out there, stay in there. Okay, stay in your house, right? Sexualization, in my opinion, sexualization happens in the mind. When you start to objectify somebody, you're basically taking your sexualization and you're projecting it onto them, and then you are turning them into some form of like sexual object that involves them in your sexualization. So if you take your sexualizing of somebody and then you make it somebody else's problem, now you're kind of treating that person in an objectifying manner. So if I'm gonna masturbate to somebody, okay, fine. But now if I start telling them about it, if I start DMing them, if I start touching them, if I start harassing them, well, now I've turned it into like an objectification kind of thing. That's the distinction that I draw in my mind between sexualization versus objectification. Sexualization is fine, knock yourself out, who the fuck cares? Objectification, when you start treating people in a sexualized manner, now we have a problem. That's, this is how I understand these things in my mind.
Objectification that can occur there. It doesn't have to, but yeah.
So wait, do you
but
think
they-
that that's
Wait,
the
let
only?
me, I don't have my lights on. I don't know why, one second. Okay.
Only reason?
feel-
Do you think that's
can
the
make
only
you
reason
feel
why
like an
someone
object
might
when you're
be
told.
off-put if they're told that they were masturbated to without acquiring their consent?
Can you ask that question again? I was trying to talk. I didn't know that you were talking. What'd you say?
All right. Do you think that is the only reason why someone who learns that they were masturbated to without their consent would be off-put at learning that new knowledge?
Do I think that they would be off-put? Is that what you just asked?
I'm asking you, do you think that the reason that you gave is the only reason why?
No, I've already said that. I think that the reasons can be multitudinous.
Like what?
Well, becoming a sexualized object in the
You
mind
said
of
that
somebody
already.
else is itself. I know I did.
So say something else.
Oh man.
I don't know the reasons that everyone might come away with feeling a negative feeling from a particular event.
Okay,
Lots
I'm
of
going to
things can
give you
lead
the
up to that.
answer.
Now,
The answer is
for-
violating their consent. That is
but
the
you didn't
reason
violate
why.
their consent.
You did violate their consent. Yes, you did. If this person
So-
is hypothetical,
I wonder if oh god, there's so many problems with this. If Doe would have just been calmer in this conversation, to be clear, I like Riley more, obviously. But if Doe would have been a little bit calmer in this conversation, I think Doe could have dismantled all of these arguments with alacrity. Is consent around sexual things special? Or is it consent for all thoughts? Like, if I think of somebody, let's say that I'm like, let's say that I'm playing with Legos and I'm a kid, or let's say I'm an adult and I play with Legos and I'm gonna pretend that like, oh, this guy's Mr. Mooten, and I'm running around and I'm like playing with my guys. Like, am I violating Lucas's consent because I didn't tell him or ask permission to think of him in this scenario? Can you like, this is just so weird that to invoke a thought of somebody in my mind violates their consent. I don't need that person at all. I could never see that person again in the world. Is this actually a violation of their consent? If I'm not doing anything to them, I'm not involving them in anything. It's just a thought that I have of the person.
Masturbated someone else and did not acquire their consent to do so, you violated their consent.
How did you violate their consent?
Because you were able to use an aspect of them to get yourself off sexually without their permission.
You used your mind to get yourself off.
You used that person, the image of that person.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait, all right. I need to ask you another question. No, hold on. So is the problem...
I think so, fuck. I'm trying not to be mean to Riley, because I love Riley, okay? But this sounds like an example of where Riley has thought about these arguments a lot more, but I would say that she's incorrect. And I don't know if Doe has spent a lot of time like formally hashing out their arguments, but I would say that Doe is correct. So it feels like Riley spent a lot of time formalizing these thoughts, but I disagree with them. Doe hasn't spent enough time, but I think that they're more on track to be yeah.
Like, if someone does not know that you use them to get off sexually, then it's fine.
Well, it depends on how you use them.
Why does it depend?
Well, because there are some ways where you can physically use somebody.
Oh, yeah. Fuck, I feel like I'm gonna be saying, I'm probably not gonna stop to say this again. Like, when you say use somebody, that word is doing a lot of lifting there in a lot of different ways. What does it mean to use somebody, right? If I were to tell Lucas, hey, entertain my stream for 6 hours, I'm going to the beach today, and I'm not gonna pay you shit, motherfucker. That's not the same usage as me, like, using him as an inspiration for an idea, or using him in a masturbation fantasy, or using him as a name for a character in a game. Like, using somebody, that word in and of itself is almost a worthless word. It almost doesn't mean anything. What does it mean to use something? Right? Like, do I use protein powder in my shakes the same way that somebody might use a mental health animal to feel better, which is the same as how you might use, like a piece of plywood to build, like, use is like a worthless word there. I think that needs to be expanded on way more. What does it mean to use something? Because I can, like, if I were to ask you, for instance, is it ethical to use people? Well, what do you mean? Like, I use my dad to get a ride to school. Is that ethical? Versus I use somebody for, like, it's that word in and of itself is just so worthless. It needs to be expanded upon.
And there are some ways in which it remains entirely in your mind. I don't think desire itself requires somebody else's consent.
Why does the physicality matter? There are easily sex acts that we can imagine, which are not strictly physical.
Can you name one for me?
Like masturbating to someone.
But you didn't do an action to them.
Yeah, but you're using them. You are using
your mind.
Oh, fuck. So Donnie's asking, why is that wrong?
In your mind, you're imagining them. If you have the picture, like I said, the picture seems to be like the weird part of that, but like...
All right, hold on. I'm going to give you another example, and I'm going to ask you to distinguish it. All right? Because I'm trying to get exactly like what your morals are here.
Oh, man.
If you have someone... Let's say that you have a person who goes out into public, all right? And they have a humiliation fetish, okay?
Yeah.
And they go out in front of anyone. It could be children, but just anyone who has not provided consent. And I don't know, let's say that they like defecate themselves, all right? And they
I didn't know they had a scab fetish too, Jesus.
I don't know why you're trying to get like ad homs or whatever in.
Wait.
Anyway.
I don't know, Riley just didn't understand. Scat refers to poop stuff, but okay.
Wait, no, that wasn't. I said I don't know why they have a scat fetish. That wasn't. I was joking. You gave them one fetish and then you added another. I just was being silly. I'm sorry.
Well,
Okay,
we're talking about someone with a humiliation fetish. All right. The point is that they go out into public, all right, and then around other people, they defecate themselves. Other people see them, and as a consequence of other people seeing them, they orgasm. Specifically because other people watch them. would you say that this violates the consent of the other people watching them?
So this is a hard one if you've never thought about this before, because it feels like you should say that it's wrong. But I think that to get to wrongness here, I think there needs to be some kind of awareness, right? I think that if we don't have this awareness at all, I think it gets pretty hard to say that some wrong has been committed, because you're essentially saying that you are violating people's consent without them even having an awareness that their consent is violated, which I guess in some ways is possible. So for instance, I could steal something from somebody and they're not aware that I stole something of it. But like, is this a case where has a wrong actually been committed? More importantly, has a harm been committed? Is somebody being harmed here? What if I had an embarrassment fetishment? No. What if I had an embarrassment fetish and I am driving my scooter and then I fall over in the road and a bunch of people laugh at me and I kind of like get off on that, right? Like, is that an unethical thing to do? Like, it doesn't feel that way, right? Because the other people don't have the awareness of that.
No, I don't think so.
What? All right, hold on. Wait, no. Why? You need to justify that right now.
Because I don't think you consent to things you see in public.
So literally, if you are using the site of somebody else to be able to sexually satisfy yourself, you're totally fine with that.
I just don't think that you violated their consent. We can maybe talk
Why?
about other
Why
parts
do you
of
not
it.
violate their consent?
Because you don't consent to things you see in public. I've said
This
this
isn't
like five times.
we're not talking about just seeing something in public. We're talking about using someone else, specifically in this case their site, in order to get off.
Yeah, I don't think you violated their consent. You didn't do anything to them.
Oh my, no, see, I don't know what your ethics are. I absolutely reject this. I 1 bajillion% reject this. If you
Okay.
generalize this is an awful precedent to set.
Consent, I don't know why consent extends to what you see. What is
Because in
that?
this case, you are using somebody else to gratify yourself sexually in that moment. They're aware, all right? They are aware. Everyone is involved in this. There just happens to not be any physical contact.
Sure.
So you're fine. The person that we're talking about literally uses other people for sex without their consent. You're fine with that.
Using, again, that use
They
word.
use the vision of other people. You keep saying like using the people.
They have a humiliation fetish. They can only get off from the vision, like from being humiliated in front of other people.
Sure.
So you're fine with that.
I just don't think it's violating other people's consent. I think we could talk about
What
other.
if, well, hold on.
parts
So
of it,
what if
but,
those other people are children? Are you still fine with it?
If you do it intentionally around children, I think that the intentionality there is pretty weird. Pretty
Why?
fucked up.
All right, why? You need to justify. No, don't just say, oh, it's pretty weird, it's pretty fucked up. Tell me why it's bad.
Yeah, you asked me. I will. I think that it's fucked up because you're that desiring children
Well, I'm blue.
sexually.
Sick.
I think is inherently predatory.
But why is that not fine? Oh, wait. What if they're not like trying to do it around children? But what if it just happens to be a child?
Yeah, if there's not intentionality, I would probably say that they that I don't think that they should if they notice the kids are around. But like, if the intentionality is not there, I wouldn't say that it's like immoral or predatory.
So we need to go through this. So if we're saying, you are just committing to this position that if you have someone with a humiliation fetish, they go out in public, they defecate themselves in front of children. It's not like they were trying to like be in front. They just happened to be there. The children just happened to be there. You know, it could have been any person, but the children just happened to be there. And then as a consequence of the children seeing that person defecate, and
So, honest to God, when you get really deep into these arguments, child stuff makes everything weird, such that if you're going to have coherent arguments on sexuality, you almost have to bite the bullet on some weird kid shit. Never anything actually having sex with children, of course. Which I think Doe is having trouble with here for obvious reasons, because optically it looks horrible. But Doe has kind of sidestepped this in the only way, really, that they can. And I think they need to just keep repeating this. I think that sex acts or anything involving children is inherently predatory, but it's not because you're violating somebody's consent or any of these tangential arguments that Riley's bringing up, but just because sexual anything involving children is like inherently a different type of act than it would be otherwise. I think Doe needs to like hammer that point so that Riley gets off the children aspect of this. Maybe as an example, like, is fucking in a hotel room, is that like morally wrong because somebody next to you might hear that and you're violating their consent? Probably not like morally wrong, right? That's probably not a morally wrong thing. Is it kind of like maybe uncomfortable or you're not being very considerate maybe, but morally wrong? Probably not. But like, what if you were doing that in like a grade school and you knew that the classroom full of like 4-year-olds, not 4-year-olds, like 6 or 7 or 8-year-olds could hear you, right? Well, now it seems like it becomes something a little bit different, but it's not because we've gone from not violating consent to violating consent or anything like that. It's because we've brought in children that kind of like have their own special set of rules for how we would deal with those types of arguments, you know?
Because like, but for that site, then that person orgasms, and you're fine with that.
Can you see like the last like sentence, the last little bit?
Yeah. So, person, humiliation fetish, goes out in public. The only people around are children. They aren't necessarily looking to find children.
Wait, the only people around are children?
Yeah, the only people. Or we can say there's like, I don't know, there can be like a combination. It's like mostly children.
Like I said, I think if there are children around, you should probably be careful about something like that, where you are actively getting off.
But why? No. So I'm gonna finish. All right. So then I'm gonna finish the hypothetical, and we're gonna explore. All right. So then, actually, you know what? Now you will just say that. Let's just say it just happens to be that there's only children around. Maybe they go to a playground. It just happens to be the nearest place by them.
Okay. Well, if you go to a playground, there's just it's not that there just happen to be children there. You're at a fucking playground.
It's just like the kids just happen to be there, and they're the only people there. So if this person goes out and they're wearing their diaper or whatever, and they defecate themselves, and the only people around are children, and as a consequence of the children seeing them defecate, then they orgasm. You are fine with that?
No, I've already said that if there's children around, that you probably shouldn't do it.
No, the reason that you said it was bad if children are around is because you specifically are interested in using the children. This is not the case here. It's just the children happen to be there.
Things. That's not the only thing that I said.
Then what are the other reasons why it's bad to do it around children?
I think that getting off from the gaze of children is what would be the harm there. That their gaze is the problem, because the humiliation is that children are seeing you.
Wait, hold on. What harm?
Doe is doing this, is invoking the fact that they're children, so it makes it wrong, not about...
What is the harm being elicited?
What harm are you talking about?
I'm talking about violating someone's categorical right to consent.
Can you explain to me in what way you have a consent? You have the ability to consent to things you see in public?
You keep saying no. Hold on, stop. You keep trying to bring it back to seeing. I've never argued that.
Seeing.
No, this is using someone else. The seeing just happens to be the way that they're using them. It could be other ways, but we're talking specifically about using someone else for sex.
The using thing is just so...
That is
like,
what we're talking.
Using somebody for sex could mean that I am like date raping them, or it could mean that I'm just thinking of them in mass, right? That using word is such a fluffer word that it like... That you just can't have that word as part of the argument. I'm sorry. You have to use something more precise than using. That is just such a hollow and empty word that we can fill with everything we want. Like,
we're talking about using someone else for sex. This is just one way where you can use someone for sex in a way where it's clearly sex, even though they're not physically in contact.
I would be careful about saying it's sex itself.
It's a sex act. And also, wait, hold on. Let's be clear. There are ways to be able to have sex where you're not physically in contact. Like, this is a sex act. If you want to try and parse the difference between what was a sex and what was a sex act.
I don't agree with your definition of sex acts. We might have to back up to there if you want to move this conversation forward. Hold on. The reason why we're talking about this is because I'm justifying my definition of a sex act. This is what I'm doing right now. We're showing you that, like... You're asking me a bunch of questions. You haven't justified yourself. You just want to push me into somewhere.
No, because
want-
your outcome, your definition of sex would mean that this is not a sex act and there's no violation of children's consent.
I haven't even given a definition of sex.
Wait, hold on. You gave several definitions from legal sources earlier.
I listed the fact that there are many ways that different legal systems, and I picked mine alone because there were, not because, but because I live here, but in mine alone, there were multiple different ways that they defined sex. I was just pointing out that it's a very complex problem.
Malik, you keep spamming this. Aren't you moral dumbfounding when you say children are special rules without explaining why? No, I don't want to get into it because 99% of people can't handle those conversations. I don't give a fuck. I'm not getting into it. If you want to go argue about fucking kids, or you want to argue about child sex shit or whatever, go do it on a fucking libertarian forum. I'm not having that conversation here because most of you can't handle it, okay? No, go fuck off. Go to the subreddit and argue all you want about that shit, okay?
And that I didn't think that your flattening of the complexity was very useful.
And I would say it is useful because it gives us clear answers for how to be able to deal with these kinds of situations.
Well, sure, you want to condemn these people, but like I don't think that just wanting that itself it means it's better.
Wait, no, I think that no, this is the whole point of being able to show bad outcomes of different systems. All right? Right now, I'm showing you the benefit of mine because I would say that being able to use a definition of sex act, which focuses primarily on intent, is able to give us clear answers for these kinds of questions, when otherwise, if we want to go off of one that requires, for example, physical contact, that you cannot be able to resolve.
So I think that even if we can say that which I don't agree, but even if we wanted to say that like your definition makes it work in this example, it actually fucks up a bunch of other examples that I think are really important.
Like what?
Well, because your definition of sex acts is about the intent, and especially like primary intent, I think is how you said it maybe, to elicit sexual desire in some way, whether for yourself or someone else, right?
I think that's about right.
Well, I personally, and maybe I'm a little different from everybody, that's okay. But personally, I like to feel sexy. I like to feel sexy even in public.
Wait,
I'm
hold
not
on.
getting off in public, but
There's
I like to. I'm
There's
sorry.
a big difference.
you
We're
said
not
something?
talking about feeling sexy. We're
Wait,
not talking
what?
about feeling
Can
attractive.
I actually like fully explore what I'm saying? Sure. Like
All right,
I
I'm
know
just
that you're
saying
not
that this
talking
isn't
about
relevant
being
so far.
sexy or feeling sexy, whatever.
Jeez.
What I'm talking about is I choose the things that I wear and how I present myself with the intent for my own sexual desire to express myself sexually and to feel it sexually.
Wait, no, hold on. We're not talking about like the intent. I'm trying to figure out, wait, hold on. So are you saying that you dress the way that you do to like get off in public?
You keep going back.
Riley's definition of like sex and sexuality and sex act, whatever, like if you do a particular thing to get off, like I feel like it's incredibly rigid. It feels like a very, very rigid way to define all of this, in such that this is going to break apart when we start to apply this to almost any example.
To getting off. No.
We're talking about
I'm-
appealing to sexual desires.
I wish that
she would have,
like a ESO, whatever the fuck.
Have you never felt something sexual without it being coming?
Wait, no. Or hold on. Can I answer that question? Because this is ridiculous.
I don't think this is ridiculous.
The way that people arrive at like orgasm is by appealing to their sexual desires. That's what you do. All right, and there
just
you can
the
be able
appealing
to
doesn't
dress.
usually
You can
do
be
it.
able to dress and dress attractively for reasons other than trying to appeal to sexual desires or interests. Like this is like the woke version of she was asking for it.
I don't think it is.
I absolutely
I
think it
think
is.
that someone can express themselves sexually without them inviting someone to touch them.
That's not appealing to sexual desires or interests. That is not the same then.
I think it is. If I want men to look at me in a particular way, I can dress a particular way to show that, to cause that reaction.
Wait, no, what? So wait, hold on. Is this the?
I don't think that was
specifically
controversial.
trying to dress in a particular way
To evoke a
get
certain
men,
response.
like
Yeah.
in order to appeal to men's sexual desires or interests.
really anyone's, but yeah, I picked men. Yeah. Like I think that I can and have and probably will in the future try to dress to appeal to someone's sexual desire. I like feeling desired. It makes me feel good.
Okay, no, then I would absolutely disagree with that. I think that there are plenty of other reasons why women or anybody can be able to dress in a certain way aside from just like sexually appealing to someone else, right?
True,
The reason I dress the way that I do isn't because I'm trying to like
reasons.
get off men or I'm trying to like appeal to the sexual desires of women. No, like I dress the way that I do because I just like the way that I feel. I'm not trying to like get off other people.
Well, you keep going back to get off. I dress partially sometimes because I like the way that it feels and looks, but other times I like to sort of sexualize it a little bit. I like to feel sexy. I like to have sexual desire from other people. It makes me feel good.
All right, wait, hold on. Then we're talking about something completely different than what you were talking about in the example. All right? Because
Well,
what you're
you
talking
gave
about,
the
no, because what you're
example.
talking about in that instance is not that is doing something where it is not the primary reason why you're dressing that way. Where you just said that it's a part of it in the hypothetical that you talked about in the tweet that we are talking about right now. You said some people like feet if you go shoeless to a
Yeah.
public event primarily because your partner likes feet, you're not involving them in a sex act. No, you were talking
Yeah.
about doing something primarily to appeal to a sexual act.
I primarily dress on some days. That's what I meant by sometimes. I primarily dress on some days for sexual desire, both of myself, of looking at myself and feeling like I am a sexual being, and for what other people give to me, the
No,
sexual desire.
then I would say that no. Then I would say that you're I would say that you're absolutely violating other people's consent. Then
I don't understand.
We need Can we get a concrete example? What about somebody that wears like a big booba top, okay? Big booba top. We're cleavaging out, and we're doing it because we know we look good. We got big old booba. We want to go out, show off our big old booba cleavage. Is that like violating, if you walk out in public like that, are you violating other people's consent? Like,
to feel good is and wanting
because you're
to
talking
feel
about feeling
like,
good in a sexual way.
Yeah.
why is it so?
That's a sex act. I would absolutely call that a sex act. I would stand by that.
How is it a sex act? What did I do that was a sex act?
Because you are doing something primarily.
The ironic way is that I think Riley's trying so hard to avoid this, like, she was asking for it, but I feel like in a really roundabout way, that's kind of the argument that Riley's justifying. Let's say that I see somebody and I attack them sexually, and then we're in court, and Riley's a judge. I'm like, well, Your Honor, they were wearing booba, okay? They've already committed one sex act. I'm just reciprocating, right? In a roundabout way, it feels like Riley's arguments could be used to justify they were asking for it.
To appeal to sexual desires or interests.
Well, I don't think that that's true. I don't think that if I think there's a lot of other examples that we can give of things that are very related to sex, that and sexuality that happen in public that do not cause harm. And I don't think you can claim that I'm causing a harm by wanting to be desired
Yes,
by
I
other
can.
people and dressing for that desire. And I think that's the only way that we can claim that this is
Yes,
like
I would,
like a
yes.
bad.
In that note, yes, I would say that if you are doing something primarily, again, we're focusing on primarily here, in order to appeal to other people's sexual desires or
Yeah.
interests without their consent, then I would say you are harming them by violating their consent.
So you think that flattening sex, like forcing somebody, breaking somebody's consent, you think that me wearing a dress with a low-cut top, look at my dress
Oh,
now.
here we go.
All right, hold
I
on.
would show
It's
off
not-
my boobs a little bit.
It's not-
And it would make other people feel a little bit good, but we wouldn't be getting off for anything.
You're being very particularly vague with when you say good. It's not just good generally. You're talking about good in a specifically sexual sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, no, I would absolutely hold by. I would absolutely hold by, especially like here, because right now you're talking about a very abstract. Right now you're talking about an example that's very removed from what you said. What you said was that you're appealing to your partner's foot fetish.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
a booba fetish?
Well, I'm sorry. What's the difference there? I literally don't see it. I'm so sorry.
All right, hold on.
Okay.
So the issue, I mean, we already went over it. So you're fine. You're completely fine if you go out with your partner and your partner has a foot fetish and you go out and know that like, oh yeah, my partner has a foot fetish. And because they have a foot fetish and primarily because they have a foot fetish, I am going to dress barefoot and try to appeal to their foot fetish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think and then on top of that, all right. So that's step 1. Step 2 is you're fine with that happening in public.
Yeah.
And so step 3, you're fine with that even happening around children.
Yeah, as long as there's not an intent for the children to be there, and as long as that you're not like including them, like, hey, come touch this, my partner's feet, or like, yeah, as long as you're not being like weird about it, yeah.
Why does that matter?
Because there's a different kind of usage of the
you've
person.
included them
Yeah.
in the act, like you're making them part of it.
What if they don't? What if you don't like? What if they don't like touch it? What if they're just like around it, like they see the person getting off to the foot fetish or whatever as it's happening?
Well, you keep saying getting off.
All right, are you? Hold on, wait. Are you? No,
categorically
then I
reject
want you to
that.
correct me. I want you to correct me. Are you fine then if they get off to their foot fetish in public? Are you fine with this person in this situation orgasming in public as a consequence of their foot fetish?
Depends on if it's noticeable or not, really, right?
As things stand right now, maybe not. But I'd like to move towards a society that's a little bit freer about sex. I think
Oh, this is
having
a
more comprehensive.
bad pivot.
So
by-
you are fine with it?
sex is,
So you are fine with it
I actually
then?
gave a really nuanced answer there. Did you miss it?
So you are. So the answer that you gave.
These
is
two
that,
people
like,
hate
you
each
don't
other
think
so
it's
much.
Possible, but you would like to.
No, that's not the answer that I just gave.
Then I want you to give me the answer again, because my understanding of your answer was that, oh, well, probably not right now, but I'd like to move towards a society where maybe people have more open understandings of sex. The implication there being that you would like to be able to have people do that in the future.
I would like for sex to be destigmatized in the future to a pretty significant degree. With
No,
a broader
stop.
understanding.
You're not answering the question. You're not
I
answering the
am
question. I
answering
need
your
you to
question.
answer. I need you to answer this question. This specific question. Are you fine? Are you fine if your partner gets off to their foot fetish in public and you're the person who intentionally causes it? Are you fine with that happening? Yes or no?
I think the truth is that you'd have to be a little more nuanced about how the partner's getting off.
No, this is a yes or no question. Stop. You need to give a yes or a no to this question.
I didn't think I went on like Jesse Lee Peterson's show today. I actually like nuance and context in the
Okay.
answers that I give.
You can give all the nuance that you want after a yes or a no.
It's gonna. So Doe's problem is that, like, yes, it seems to be okay, but how are we phrasing this? Like, are you like sitting at like a fucking kindergarten playground and your partner's like giving you like a full on, foot job and you're coming all over the fucking equipment? Or is your partner like going barefoot to some fucking outdoor festival where you're around a bunch of adults, right? It's hard to compare these two situations. And Riley's verbiage here is so vague that you could be talking about either one, right? So it's hard. So because what Doe's probably afraid of is that if Doe says yes, Riley's next question is like, oh, so then you're okay walking into a kindergarten classroom and jerking your partner off with your feet and getting all over the first row of children, come all over their faces. That's what you're saying, right? That's what it sounds like the next thing would be, as opposed to like Doe meaning like if your partner, likes a particular part of your body and you go to the beach, is it bad to appeal there, right? To that. Like I think this is where Doe wants to insert the nuance, because these two situations are obviously very different, Can
you not follow my answer? If you want to ask questions, it's okay. I can explain anything that I say.
No, because all right, so you asked me, all right, so I'm going to back up. You asked me why, to go back to the original thesis. So I said that this is an argument that either was intentionally being made to justify pedophilia or was negligently being made and ends up justifying pedophilia. So based on where the conversation is right now, I would absolutely stand by that, because I don't think that you can give a clear answer to say that according to your worldview, yes, you would be fine with this.
Yes, I have nuanced answers to questions. I don't think that it's okay to do sex acts with children. And I don't think it's okay to include children in your sex acts.
Do you think that it's, all right, then hold on. Then do you think it's fine, because you focus a lot on physical touch, do you think it's fine if someone gets off to their foot fetish as a result of you doing it, and the children are around and even see it, but do not touch your partner at all?
It depends on how the orgasm occurs.
All right, so tell me why it matters. All right, tell me in which ways then you would be fine with that happening. Tell me in what kind of scenario you would be fine with your partner getting off around children, and you would say that's a fine thing.
Well, getting off in public with, the potential for children to be around. Like I said, making it intent about children is very would make it, I think, morally, wrong.
All right,
But
and we talked about that before.
I,
All right,
I
let's
know I'm
assume
doing
that
a
we're
full,
talking about.
nuanced answer. I really wish you'd let me finish.
You just keep not responding to me based on what we already talked about. You keep.
Is this really a conversation about getting in the weeds of debating different ethical frameworks? Yeah, absolutely. I think so. You just need to have two people that are willing to debate it in good faith and not get like super caught up in kind of weird shit. I think most people are going to agree, broadly speaking, about most of this stuff.
Feel like you keep trying to avoid answering the questions. That's why I keep trying to pull you back so we stay on topic.
Well, it sounds like you're trying to get a clip because you don't actually want to discuss the nuance of this.
No, I am discussing nuance. I think that your worldview
You're
leads
really
to very
not.
bad
You
outcomes.
literally just said, "Give me a yes or no answer." No, I don't like
Because
your
you're
nuanced answer. Give me a yes or no answer. Are you serious?
Nuance. No, hold on. Nuance is not the same as refusing to give a yes or a no. You can give all the nuance that you want and also give a clear yes or a no.
Sometimes it's not just a yes or a no. Sometimes you have to make a nuanced case for sometimes yes and sometimes no. There are some people who have premature ejaculations. They'll even do it in public without touching or anything like that. They don't mean to. It's not but it still occurs. I think that
Holy
people
shit.
can orgasm in public in ways that aren't very harmful. But I think that there are ways that are harmful.
Okay, so I want to give you another scenario based on what you've already said, and I want you to tell me if it is or if it is not harmful. Okay?
I think we've walked through enough of these examples. I don't really know what else you're trying to get out of this.
No, I'm trying to test your values.
I feel like we really, really have. I mean, yeah, of course you're trying to test me. You've tested me 5 times now, and I've been pretty consistent.
No, you have not been consistent. I can't even get a baseline level of what your views are. You've not given a clear answer to almost any of the questions I've asked. So I just want to try. I'm trying to ask questions to figure out what your values are. So I'm going to give you another example based on what you have already said to see what your response is so I can help figure out what your values are. Okay?
Okay, that sounds really cool. We haven't done this yet. I'd really like to.
Okay. So let's say that you have the person from the example that you tweeted about, your partner, foot fetish. You go out with your partner. You know that your partner has a foot fetish. You intentionally and primarily do not wear shoes in order to appeal to your partner's foot fetish. There are children around. You do not care that there are children around, but there are children around. Your partner, who also does not necessarily care if there are children around, ends up getting off, orgasming as a consequence of you specifically appealing to their foot fetish. Do you think that there is any harm incurred to the children, even though that was not necessarily intentionally a part of the situation? Yes or no?
From the way you've described that, no, I don't believe a harm was done to those children.
Okay. So now we're at the issue. Thank you.
I think Riley needs to slow down a little bit on some of these exclamations because I don't think she's made her arguments as strong as she thinks she has. But it feels like she thinks that okay, this is the big ownage moment. That's the feeling that I get. It's okay, well, let's slow down a little bit because we're still in highly contentious territory where I don't think either side has necessarily built up their argument to earn that, huge exasperated sigh yet,
So this is why I would reject your framing of this, because I would say that doing that violates categorically the consent of the children and therefore causes them harm. That is my issue with what you are. That's my issue with what you're proposing.
What consent did you violate?
Because you engaged in sexual acts around children by engaging in incredibly risky behavior without getting their consent.
That's not. You haven't described a harm.
Yes, I have. All right, let me give you an example of this. Do you think?
No, actually, let me give you an example of this.
Okay.
So I went through some pretty extreme child sexual assault. I was sold to other people for sex.
Okay.
There were people who looked at me and desired me sexually.
Okay.
And there is a very big difference from the guy who was looking at me and desiring me sexually and the guy who just paid to...
Okay, whoa! Okay. I feel like Doe did a decent job in this argument up to here, even though I think they definitely could use some time to, like, again, more formally think out their arguments, but it feels like we just triggered the nuclear option for absolutely no reason. Holy shit.
There's a very big difference between the desire of the first person and the actual act of the second person. These are fundamentally different. My consent wasn't broken when someone was looking at me, you know, with desire. That's not where that came from.
All right. I am sorry that happened to you. That is awful. That does not have to do with this conversation.
It absolutely does.
What I would say is that, like, honestly, once somebody has, like, triggered this level of, like, personal, like, kind of trauma dumping, I'd be like, okay, I don't think that it feels like we can't move much farther in this conversation now, or I'm uncomfortable to do so. And then I think you just have to leave. Because now you're literally nothing that happens from this point. Even if Riley was making the most logical arguments in the world, which I don't think she has at this point, but you're completely fucked. It's time to leave at this point.
Your definition of sex acts includes the man who was looking at me, wanting to buy me, but not doing it.
I don't even know if Doe's argument
we're about to be TOS
makes sense here, but
let me be clear. All right. Everything that you just said does not have to do with the scenario that we just talked about.
It has to do with your definition of sex acts.
So the person...
Your definition of sex acts fundamentally fails. It includes people who wear crop tops. It includes people who wear high heels to make their ass look good. And it includes the man who looked at me.
Like, Doe's argument is so strong on its own right there. Like, if they were only talking about that, like, yeah, you're solid. You're on solid ground. I don't know why Doe decided to go nuclear with the trauma dump. I don't understand.
Desiring me.
Did he get off to you?
Oh, God.
No, not that one.
Oh, no, Riley, why are you even trying to...
No, he was deciding which one of us he wanted to fuck.
Then I would say that that's not a sex act. If he is not
He desired me sexually.
If he was not doing something, acting.
He was desiring me. Isn't that the problem here?
Wait, so hold on. So actually, wait. So... do you want this person? I'm trying to understand the issue here.
God!
I know that this is a very, we don't have to talk about this. This is a sensitive subject.
Yeah, it's why I was really, really upset when you called me a pedophile.
I didn't call you a pedophile.
Yeah, I know. You're going to keep maintaining that. We haven't gotten to that part of the discussion yet.
No.
Riley technically didn't call him a pedophile.
Any other examples of me calling you a
pedophile? Oh, my God.
When you say that someone is intentionally or negligently justifying pedophilia, what you're saying is they have made an argument that they think that sex acts with children are okay, whether they know it or not. Your audience calls me a pedophile without your pretty wording around it because they heard your message. They heard the message that you were sending out. They heard it. They heard it loud and clear. They heard it every time you called all of those people. Yeah, no, they totally did. And they get it. They absolutely understood. Your audience picked it up. Did you not?
No, all right, I'm gonna mute you.
Oh, God.
I'm incredibly concerned about TOS. All right? Stop. I'm going to mute you for a second.
Oh,
We're going to get back to having a productive conversation.
No,
right?
No, we're not. Absolutely no, we're not. It's funny that you think that, but...
call you a pedophile. I didn't. I said that you either intentionally made an argument that would lead to what pedophiles want, or you negligently did. That is what I argued. And that is what I maintain, especially based on your answers earlier.
Having sex with children. I never claimed that.
All right,
I have
I'm
only
not.
said that it
hold
is
on.
okay to do things in public that deal with sexual desire.
Do you understand what negligence means?
Yes, unintentionally.
Okay.
So
This
but what you're saying is
comment-
I have a belief whether or not I know it, that I did it whether or not I meant to. You're saying that I said it's okay to have sex with children
Stop.
whether or
No,
not I know
That's
it.
not.
That's what you
That's
said.
not really
That's
what
not
Riley.
what I
said
said.
about
No,
me. You
that's
said
Stop
not
that.
what.
No,
Those are
stop.
the words that you
You're
said
keep
about
putting
me.
words in my mouth. You can
I didn't
yell
put
all
words
you want.
intentionally
No,
or negligently.
stop.
Those are what those words mean.
No. Stop.
Anyone can see that that's what those words mean.
No. Stop.
And your audience
Oh,
heard
hold
the
on. I'm going to
message.
mute you again.
Your-
Oh God, Riley!
again.
Oh
All right? Yelling does not make you more right. All right? Yelling does not make you more right. We talk about negligence. It means that you do something or you say something and you are not aware of its implications at the time that you do it. But you still...
no! Wait, do I have lawyer people in here? Apple is. I don't know if I'm thinking of negligence or gross negligence, but doesn't negligence usually imply a little bit more than just you didn't know? Doesn't negligence usually imply you didn't know but you should have? Isn't that what negligence kind of means? Like if we say that, oh, you were being negligent, we don't usually just mean like, oh, you didn't know something. I think generally when we say you're being negligent, we're saying you didn't know this and you should have. That's my understanding. Yeah, so somebody tried to say it implies you failed to take the proper steps. Negligence, even in common parlance versus legal, I think that's generally true. If you say this person was really negligent, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, fuck, I can't even think of like, fuck, I can't, I'm trying to think of an example of where it'd be negligent versus ignorance. No, I can think of tons of negligent things. I'm trying to think of something that would just be like, you were just ignorant. You just didn't know. Here's an example, okay? Let's say that you're walking down the street, and let's say you're walking on a sidewalk, and let's say there's a neighbor with a really dangerous dog, okay? And you're walking on the sidewalk and you're whatever, and then all of a sudden that dog runs out of the house and attacks you, right? I would say like, okay, that was just an example of ignorance. You had no idea. And is it really on you to know that a person has a dangerous dog that's gonna run out and attack you if you're just walking on a sidewalk? That would be an example of like ignorance. You were ignorant of it. You didn't know. Now let's say that you're cutting through people's backyards, and let's say somebody had a sign or even didn't have a sign, and you go into somebody's backyard and then that dog attacks you. Now I'd say you weren't being ignorant, you were being negligent, because not only you did something and you didn't know that something bad would happen to you, but you should have known. You should have known better than to do that, right? I would argue that that's like, there is a difference. And I wouldn't even say even just strictly like, oh, legally. I would say like even in common parlance, there's a difference between negligence versus ignorance there. Yeah.
Do cause harm. All right? So I'm going to unmute you.
Oh, God.
You're going to stop saying that this is calling you a pedophile, because it is not. All
I
right.
can't believe you muted me. That's incredibly embarrassing.
You were
Oh my
yelling. No,
God.
hold on. You were yelling, and you were trying to put words in my mouth.
Oh, man.
All right? So I am justified to be able to do that. Keep saying that I said a thing when I didn't. We looked at the
You
clip.
said-
We looked at the
You
clip.
said
Yes.
that I intentionally or negligently justified pedophilia. That means that either I meant to say that it's okay to have sex with children, or I unintentionally hold the belief or
No.
made an argument that made an argument that would allude to the belief that having sex with children is okay.
Now, hold on. Stop. All right? It's not just... there is a possibility, because I can't read your mind. I don't know what's in your head. But the total scope of possibilities means that either you did know what you were saying when you said this, or conversely, that you didn't know.
Yeah.
And I stand by that, because if you did
you're
not
saying
know
that
what
I
the
made an argument
implications of
without
this
knowing
are,
that
as you
says it's
admitted
okay to have
earlier,
sex with
you're
children.
fine. No, hold on. You are fine with people, you admitted, you're fine with people being able to get off in front of children, at least in some scenarios. You're fine with that.
Get off in public with the understanding that children might be there. But that actually wasn't why you called me a pedophile. The reason you called
I
me
didn't call you a pedophile. You just admitted,
said
that
I
there are
intentionally-
scenarios where you're fine with people getting off around children in public. I do not think it is a stretch to say that you either negligently or intentionally made arguments that would also be made by pedophiles.
No, none of my arguments were made by pedophiles.
You are not listening to me.
I am listening to you. I heard every word you said. You want me to repeat it back to you word for word?
Yes, please repeat back to me exactly what I said as I said
All right,
it.
maybe I can't do word for word, but you did say that your belief in its negligence. Oh, I read something and I lost it. Never mind. Don't worry about it.
Oh no.
Okay. So you agreed, just now, you've agreed multiple times actually, that you are fine with certain situations where someone engages in a sexual act, gets off publicly around children.
act.
You are
No,
fine.
you keep saying.
You are no, stop. You agree that there
Another
are,
problem too is they're kind of like skirting through this debate very quickly, and I don't even know if they're working on the same like terminology. Like it still sounds like they don't even agree what a sex act is. It still sounds like there's a lot of fundamental basic things that they don't agree like about, like consent. Like is wearing a top like a sex act? It doesn't sound like we ever like got resolution. So we're totally, both of these people are totally in the dark for as to what the other person thinks about, you know, certain topics. But I mean, I don't know what. Yeah.
are situations where you are fine with that happening,
I'm fine with people getting off in public sometimes. Yes.
even if it is around children.
As long as they're not including the children in it. Yes.
Okay. So, I don't think that my comment was out of line at all.
Well, you're implying that I think it's okay to involve children in sex acts.
No, I didn't.
Oh, sounds like pedo apologia to me. Look at your chat. Look at them all doing it. They hear your message.
Well, right now what you're saying is incredibly yikesy. Because you are
Yikesy.
justifying being able to get off in front of children.
I'm justifying getting off in public. I'm not justifying getting off with
Sometimes in front of children.
as the intent.
Sometimes, and you are fine with scenarios where people get off in public and also in front of children.
Yes. As long as they're not including the children in the sex act.
They need to get into some more examples because Doe is biting bullets that they don't need to bite so viciously. Like Doe could ask, for instance, let's say that you go into the beach with your loved one and let's say that you fuck in the water or whatever, hypothetically. And let's say, like, you know, 100 yards down the beach, there's a bunch of kids playing and they looking at you towards the water, but they don't even know you're fucking. Like, is this immoral? Are you involving children in sex acts here? Like, Doe just needs like one or two examples to spell out, like, this isn't really as horrible as you think it is, or that Riley's saying it is, but...
Do we want to go back to all right, we talked about the concept of risk earlier, or risky behavior. Can we go back to that? Because this would be when we're talking about
No,
the
because we still haven't
categorical
gotten
harm.
past your failure of a definition.
I-
you can't fundamentally tell
I think
me
that I
my consent was broken
doubt
when that
this
man
a
desired
ton.
me.
I doubt
Cover
this
that.
a ton.
It does not cover that. That's not a sex act. The man looked at me. He wanted.
All right, you
to
keep bringing up your
purchase
personal
me.
experience. I am sorry
Yes,
that happened.
Because my
You
personal
keep no, you
experience
stop. You
is
keep bringing up your
important here
personal.
because you clearly don't have.
No, I'm gonna stop you.
God!
I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. You're bringing up your own personal experience as a drama victim to try and paint me in a bad light. I know what you were.
You might be a trauma victim, but I'm not going to be a drama victim. That's where Riley's going on this one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
doing. All right? Do not lie
Jesus.
to me or the chat. I know what you're doing. I know you're poisoning the well.
Oh,
Right?
no.
This does not matter.
Oh.
We're talking about the specific scenarios of the subject here. What you tweeted, which is what we are talking about. All right? So stop poisoning the well and keep on the discussion that you agreed to have. All right? I'm going to unmute you.
Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted.
I think it's really embarrassing that you keep muting. I haven't muted you once. I think that's really
You
embarrassing.
keep saying
But
embarrassing
more
just
than that-
because
Yeah,
you say
because
that
it
something is embarrassing.
Because
Just
you
because
have
you
to-
say
you
that
have to,
something is
like-
embarrassing does not make it embarrassing. I hate to be the one to tell you.
Oh
now
my
you
God,
asked.
you're right.
Now you asked about the
my
specific
God, I'm
harm.
not the arbiter of ultimate embarrassment. Oh my God, I've just now come to this realization. My life's a lie. I'm gonna be in shambles now.
So you asked earlier, what's the harm of getting off around children, and I will justify that to you right now.
No,
Okay.
I want you to justify your belief of desire being a sex act. I've given a very clear example in where desire wasn't a sex act. Sexual desire wasn't itself a sex act. I'd like you to actually defend your claim because you haven't yet.
Because they have no, hold on, because we're talking about if you're doing something primarily appealing to sexual desires or interests. That's absolutely
Yes,
a
the
sex
man
act.
who was looking at me to purchase me was in fact looking at
All
me
right,
with
hold on.
your intense sexual desire.
That is not primary. No, hold on, no, stop.
You don't think that's primarily about sexual desire?
No,
the guy
because they're
who was
doing it-
about
no,
to,
hold on.
about to buy my holes?
All right, so hold on. So you are all right. You're literally engaging.
Oh, God,
I know
why?
what you're doing. So stop it. I'm going to respond to you. All right? I'm going to respond to you. But I know everyone can tell exactly what you're trying to do. Okay? So I'm going to respond to you.
Am I unmuted?
I'm unmuting you right now.
Oh, it's Riley's stream. It's fine for her to mute the pedo apologist.
I'm
I
muting you
still
when
think
you're
it's-
I'm mute. No, you know when I'm muting you. Don't lie.
I don't know. It doesn't show me.
All right. So
How am I
I would
supposed to
say,
know?
I would
Wait,
say
you
in
just
that
said that, you're gonna
scenario,
just
I
move
would
on?
say,
You're gonna
I
say that
would
and you're just gonna move on?
no. I'm responding to what you said. I
Yeah,
would
you
say
said
in
something
that
was a
scenario,
lie, and then you're not
I-
gonna acknowledge
no.
that it wasn't true, and now you're just trying to move on.
no,
can't
stop.
believe
I would
you.
respond to you. You're asking me to respond to an incredibly inflammatory hypothetical or
I'm
scenario.
asking you to.
So I'm going to
respond
justify.
my personal experience because it is the ultimate counter to your poor definition.
No, it's not the.
It's
ultimate
not
counter.
even the
I'm
ultimate
about to explain
counter.
why.
Doe
Also,
could think of
please
so many
give
better
a trigger
examples.
warning to
Jesus.
people in my chat are asking that you give a trigger warning before you talk about.
No, I don't think so. You didn't give me a trigger warning when you called me a pedophile.
I didn't. Call
Oh,
you a pedophile.
no. Oh, God. This has
No,
devolved
I
into
didn't.
such...
You already went over it. Stop
Yeah,
lying.
and I was right.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I reject
Yeah.
that. Do you have any other? All right, hold on. You said multiple times. Is there any other time aside from this? Because here, I would reject that I ever called you a pedophile. I would reject that 100%. You said I called you a pedophile multiple times. Are there any other times where that possibly happened?
You deleted all your tweets. Don't you remember?
I didn't. I never tweeted calling you a pedophile.
Okay.
So you're just calling me a liar then?
No, I said at the very beginning of this debate that neither of us can prove that claim because you hid all the evidence. So
I didn't
it's
hide all
impossible
the
for
evidence.
anyone
I
to
deleted it
claim
because you
anything.
and your community were harassing me.
Sure. We were
Oh,
talking
man.
about things that you said publicly as a public figure. That
I never.
is-
Do you have any screen? All right. Do you have any screen cap? If I deleted a tweet, then I could have had it. Are there any
Your
screen cap
girlfriend
evidence?
tweeted, and it seemed to be in line with things that you believed.
Do you have any
It made the
screen
exact
cap
same
evidence?
argument as you about how desiring a foot fetish, desiring feet with a foot fetish is itself a sex act.
Do you,
and
no,
then
no,
she
stop,
cited
stop,
some,
stop,
legal
stop.
stuff,
No,
and then she
stop.
got put on
You don't have
bad
any.
legal
So you're
things.
saying you don't have
Oh,
any
man,
actual
what?
evidence. You don't have any actual evidence of me calling you a
right.
pedophile once.
You did it multiple times, but
No, I didn't. You never have provided
doesn't
any
matter.
evidence
That's
to
okay.
substantiate
I
that
can't. I
claim.
already said I can't prove that you tweeted those things. It's fine. We can move on from it.
No.
I know
You
that
lied
did it.
then. You
deleted your
specifically
tweet.
lied then. Why are you trying to prove something that you don't even know is true?
Well, I know that it happened because it happened to me. And
Wait, so
beyond that, I
you're
don't
sa-
need those tweets here because your video.
All right, wait. How is that
enough.
any difference? Hold on. We need to go through that claim because there's a massive issue there. So you're saying that you're saying it's true that I called you a pedophile multiple times because it happened to you. That is your evidence, right?
No, I'm telling you that I can't provide evidence. I
No,
said that
you're
at the
saying-
very beginning of the discussion, and I
You
can't
are
do it
saying
now.
you are saying that you are saying that it's true that I called you a pedophile multiple times because it happened to you and you know it to be true. That's what you're providing
it
as
happened
evidence.
To me, no, I know it happened. It happened to me.
I know it didn't
Can't
happen.
prove it.
I know
There's
it
no
didn't
evidence
happen.
because you deleted
I
all
know
of
it didn't
That's
happen.
okay, and like I said, neither of us can move forward on that. I've said that more than once. It's
So
fine.
you did lie about me.
I didn't lie.
Do you have any proof that you were telling the truth?
Yes, the video is the proof.
No, it's not.
If you say that someone is intentionally or unintentionally,
Why don't they just argue? It sounds like they're talking around each other so much. They just need to argue about this point. If you say that somebody is making arguments that a pedophile could use to justify pedophilia, is that the same thing as calling that person a pedophile? This is what they should be arguing. But they're like both talking past each other so much. I don't think either of them is like engaging like the prefrontal cortex at this point. They're just like both incredibly fucking mad at each other and are just, yeah.
What you're saying is that
I'm
they
literally
either
saying you may have
knowingly-
not intentionally
you said-
defended pedophilia.
I know that it's not all intentional. Every time I've said this, I've done both parts of it. You are either saying that I know that I am actively aware that I am presenting
If
something
I say-
that says,
if
Can
I
please actually
say-
finish my sentence.
No, you're not responding to me. If I say,
I am responding to you. I'm saying intentionally or unintentionally. One of them is that I knowingly am justifying having sex with children, and the other one is saying that I don't know that I'm saying that it's okay to have sex with children.
Yeah,
Neither of those are what
that's-
I've done.
yeah,
I think
what
it is
about that
okay to-
second one there?
Yes,
Where you don't
where you think
intend
that
to
I
convey
am-
that meaning.
You think that I unknowingly support sex with children, even
Yes,
though
I
I have
think-
more than once said that sex with children is wrong.
I think that you said that in this clip. I think that is the plain reading of this. I was specifically talking about what you said here.
You were talking about the foot fetish example.
Yes, where you ended
Yeah.
up conceding that you are fine with scenarios where someone gets off sexually to a foot fetish
I
around
never
children.
said gets off. I've said gets off in this conversation, but I didn't say it in that initial one. But even if I did
Wait,
say
hold on.
get
No,
off-
but you are saying that you are saying that according to this clip and the beliefs that you elicited in this clip, that you are fine with scenarios where people get off to their foot fetish sexually in public around children.
in the clip, I said that it was okay to present your desires in public, to
You-
do things in public that elicit sexual desire.
No,
in
no, no,
this
stop.
conversation,
You
I
said-
maintained that I don't think it breaks consent to orgasm in public as long as you don't involve the children around.
Okay, and now, because we've gotten to this point several times and you keep trying to pivot away, I want to explain why that is wrong. All right? We keep pivoting away. I want to explain why doing a sex act around children, even if you do not involve them, is still harmful.
When a kid walks in on their parents, did their parents involve them in a sex act?
Stop. No. What? No.
Why not?
Stop.
They involve them having
Because you're
sex.
not. No, because you're engaged. Because they were acting in private. They took reasonable steps to act in private. And stop. I'm going to. All right. So I'm going to mute you for a second.
Oh,
I'm
no.
going to explain
Why?
it is bad to do sex acts in public around children and why that still harms them. I'm going to explain that to. Oh wow, they just deafened. Okay, well, I'm going to explain it to you, chat. The reason why it is still harmful is because even if you do not actually involve someone in a sexual act, you are engaging in incredibly risky behavior with such a high risk that we ought also consider that you acquire consent in order to engage in that action to begin with. An analogy would be firing a gun in public. If you go out into
Jesus.
the middle of a crowd and fire a gun in public, we would say that that is a bad thing to do. We would easily say, yes, it is a bad thing to fire a gun in public, even if you end up not actually hitting a single person. Why? Because the risk of the harm is so great that you ought still acquire consent for that. That's why we have gun ranges or specific places where people can go to engage in risky behavior. But it has to do with consent. You have to acquire consent to engage in certain kinds of risky behavior where the risk of violating, of actually causing the harm from engaging someone in that sex act is so great that we ought not do it without getting consent. So you didn't listen to me, but... Well, you didn't listen to anything I said, but I just explained why.
Sorry, you muted me.
Because
I
you
only thought
weren't-
it fair.
Because you were not actually engaging with what I was saying. All right? I'm trying to
I feel
explain.
like I
You
was engaged
said...
with everything you've said.
No, stop. You didn't. You said that there is no harm from doing sex acts around children, and I've tried repeatedly, multiple times, to explain why it is harmful. I just explained that to my chat.
How much longer
and
does this go on
tried to
for? Because I
explain
think
it to
my
you,
debate is soon.
And you specifically avoided listening to me, which suggests to me that you are not actually engaging with me in good faith. If you are
muted me
avoiding
multiple
engaging
times.
with
That
the
was
arguments
first
I'm
time
presenting.
I muted you. I just find it really unfair that you keep muting me. Maybe unfair sounds a little whiny, but like I
will
feel like
I will
I've
mute
treated
you
with
when
pretty
you are
good
not.
faith here. I've answered every question directly.
No.
I've tried my hardest to be honest and good faith, and even
No.
answer questions that I know you are trying to make sound as intentionally bad as possible.
No,
I
I'm
know.
not.
Yeah.
No,
you are. And then you mute me
absolutely
when
not.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's absolutely what you've done. You keep saying I'm poisoning the well by talking about my own personal literal experience that actually has to do with actual pedophilia.
I think
that's
that,
apparently
yes.
not actually like
now,
important
first
to
off,
you as someone who's like really worried about CSA victims, right? Oh man.
all right, no, clearly when you say that, all right, you know you are poisoning the well.
It's not poisoning
I
the well.
agree that what happened to you was horrible. I am sorry that it happened. You know you are poisoning the well.
It's not poisoning the well. It's talking about my personal experiences. Poison the well would be like, Riley is such a dumb Christian. She'll never be able to understand what I'm saying. Like, no, like I'm not poisoning the well. I'm talking about an experience because I don't feel like you're adequately able to engage with the actual experiences of people who have gone through.
And I'm telling you
really
exactly the
things.
problems. I'm telling you exactly the problems. And I also was going to explain. All right, so hold on. So if we want to go back to exactly the reason why that person in the scenario was not engaging in the sex act, I would say that it was not because they were primarily trying to pursue a sexual desire or interest at that time. That would be my
Oh,
inclination.
look at that person in your chat. The answer is yes, that Dove's a pedo if it thinks it's okay to orgasm in the presence of children.
All right.
You know that was actually like the norm, that like people would fuck
Now
in,
hold
like,
on.
common
Don't
rooms.
try to impugn. No, hold on.
It actually used to be
Hold
the norm.
on.
I'm not impugning it. I'm just telling you. I just want you to hear like what your audience says. I'm reading it all. I know what your audience says.
All right, then
actually
actually engage with what I'm saying because I'm responding to you. I would say that the person in your scenario, for as inflammatory as you make it out to be, I would say that the distinguishing factor there is that they were not primarily engaging in a sexual act.
I was sold to other people, and you're calling me inflammatory?
Yeah, yes. I mean, right now, hold on. You keep saying that. You keep repeating this. You keep repeating the fact that you are a CSA victim, which by the way, is horrible.
Chatter Todsworth? That's not what I said. Sorry, I just wanted to let that know. That's not what I said. Yeah.
Hold on. So to be clear, the example that you gave, I would distinguish and say that the reason why that does not apply is because that person, we can reasonably surmise, was not primarily engaging in a sexual act at that time.
They were looking at me to buy me.
And all right, and I know that you are trying to just be as overly inflammatory as possible. And I would say that in that situation, the thing they were primarily focusing on was the buying. That's what my answer would be. And I know that you're just going to respond with, "Oh my God, Riley, you're so terrible." That is the response. They left.
All right. That was a horrendous shit show.
Well, yeah. Well, that went over about as well as expected.
Well, Jesus. It sounds like Jake was lying, though, then. Fuck, I wish I would have watched this beforehand, because I could have been another lie called Jake. I don't think that Riley actually said, "You are a pedophile." Now, we can quibble over whether this was the equivalent or would have led people into believing this or not, but she didn't say that directly. Damn. All right, we'll watch the Vosh Riley one after, because holy shit.